music real quick, and we will get in to the round of 16. Fantastic. Let's get our production tab open and the nameplates. In the upper left-hand corner, we have our yellow Protoss player who is currently 1-0 against his opponent. This is naelavok. And in the lower left-hand corner, with a pretty disappointing loss for him. I mean, he took it fairly hard. This is our purple Zerg, ColtDarkfire. It was a really good game last match. I mean, ColtDarkfire had a few moments where he could have taken out his opponent, but unfortunately, he was just a little too shy about it. He could have moved in, poked in, and done a decent amount of damage. And naelavok doing a really good job reinforcing his army as best as he could. He was primarily reinforcing with gateway units, and so there was a point in time where ColtDarkfire had an opportunity. And there we go with the double extractor trick one more time. Overlord coming out. So it's interesting to see that kind of thing coming out. That double extractor trick may help just a little bit. I personally go with a single extractor trick, but it looks like Darkfire saying, you know what, that was a little bit of a derpy opener, so we're not going to harp on it too much. It's okay. naelavok trying to calm him down. It's like, it's okay, this is a for fun tournament. We're here, we're going to have a good time. Not too worried about it. Juicy juice is so good. Colt going, and actually, here's the funny part. Colt and naelavok going to the exact same base to scout out. And they're going to meet up right here. And it looks like if Colt was paying attention, he should have seen that probe going out. And he's going to see what building he's going to throw down. But it looks like our Zerg player is not going to scout it out too much more. Not quite far enough in, I don't think, to see a Nexus. But that's okay. That's not where his opponent is. And it looks like he's going to find him on the next try. And naelavok going to struggle a little bit to find his opponent. And realizing shortly that there's nothing there. And it looks like Colt is going to see that there are buildings in front of this Nexus. He's going to see his opponent right now. Boom, right there. Sees everything going down. Sees that there should be able to see that there are two gases going down. And so that should be a sign of things to come, that there are double gases going down. Should be able to see that there's some sort of something. I don't want to give away too much of the action going on. And so it looks like Colt going for a little bit of an early expand right here. And we do have a pylon going down. We've got a forge up top. So he's not going to try and wall this area in. This area is not too bad to wall in as a Protoss player. I mean, it's a few buildings, a few extra buildings. You have to use your pylon for the wall. But you can still wall it in fairly effectively with just a couple buildings. Zerglings are on the map. Oh, man. Looks like they're arguing over who actually owns that probe. And unfortunately, I think naelavok must have owned that probe at some time. But it gets taken out by Zergling. So let's look at the units lost tab. You can see that he lost just one probe. And then the 12 resources lost right here were from that double extractor trick, trying to get extra drones out just that little bit earlier. Chatter going on. If you want to know how to distract a caster faster than anything else, it's start chatting. And then they start reading the chat, and then they're like, oh god, now I can't do anything. That's exactly what's happening to me right now, is that I'm reading too much into the chat. Zerglings are going across the map. Gonna just try and sneak their way in. 2 by 2, hurrah, hurrah. It's like they're going into Noah's Ark over here. And we're trying to be quiet because he's trying to sneak across the map. They're starting to slink up, bunch up just a little bit. Looks like he's going to have an expansion. He's going to have an opportunity. Sees two zealots that are on the hold position. And naelavok cutting his losses a little bit. And knowing that he's going to have to lose that pylon. It's better to lose everything in his base. And I'm not sure if these two zealots can actually hold everything on their own. But now that there's a stalker back here, he should be able to hold everything pretty well. naelavok saying it's not nice that he took all that pylon down. So we got a Stargate and a Robo going down. Double Stargate and Robo. Double Stargate all the way across the sky. Zealots moving out. But now the Zerglings have speed, so now they should be able to run by and go into the main base. Run by, go into the main base. But they do not. And so with Double Stargate basically unscouted, now our Zerg player is at a huge disadvantage. He needs to find a way to scout this sort of tech. He needs to send this Overlord in. And, I mean, now we've got everything held on the ramp, so now everything's going to be pretty safe. But now he's moving away. No, don't do that. Don't get baited away. I know you need that second base, but that's not a good place to be baited away. Zerglings hiding at the upper outcrop right there. Zerglings going down, trying to get everything off the ramp, but now the Zealots are holding position over here. And, I mean, these Zerglings are just holding back here, waiting for a chance to pounce on any probes that are going to start mining. It's a really interesting part. And so now naelavok has announced the fact that, hey, by the way, I have Phoenix, so I've got Stargates. That's going to supply block Colt just a little bit, and Colt's holding on. And you know what? naelavok needs to go ahead and scout out, especially on this map when you've got this huge outcrop right here. You need to scout out back there just in case. Make sure that there's nothing funny going on. Just barely misses it. I mean, that pathing on that Phoenix went right here. Not going to be able to see those Zerglings. And, I mean, Phoenix going across, and let's check the production tab one more time. It looks like we've got that expansion going down. That's basically it for our Protoss player. Need to see some more things getting warped in. We do have an Immortal on the way. Nothing being warped in from these Stargates because he only has one base. Being limited to one base really hurts as Protoss because although you are pretty strong, you have really strong units. Unfortunately, one base just isn't enough to afford continuing to produce units. And, I mean, this expansion is almost done. These Zerglings are going to be able to run by at any moment and start doing damage to any probes that are going to be walking in. These will be able to actually wall in these Zerglings with a couple choice force fields. I mean, 2 or 3 force fields, he's going to be able to basically take those all out. That'd be pretty interesting to see, especially at this kind of level. I think that might be asking a little bit too much, and these Zerglings right now are on the stop position, and so now they're going to reveal themselves. And now these probes just know. So now everything, he gets no probes, it doesn't look like. Let's looking at the units lost tab. Lost a couple things here, and there we go. Everything's going in. Some good force fields, kind of warped in a few. We've got Templar Archives on the way. This is actually very similar to one of the DKG players, Ertman. DKG Ertman actually does a build very similar to this. And so I wonder if naelavok has been training with Ertman. Ertman, unfortunately, goes for a Forge Fast Expanse, so I don't think that it would have been Ertman training him. Maybe a hybrid of some of the other players that are on the team. Because we've got some players that do a bunch of Gateway Expands and some players that do Forge Fast Expands, at least as far as our Protoss players. So this almost seems like a hybrid between a Forge Fast Expand and a Gateway Expand type of build with everything that's going on. Unfortunately, he didn't get that because he didn't have the forge down fast enough, he didn't have everything walled in down here. And that pool was a little bit early aggression, but it wasn't early by any means. And so now this observer has basically vision on everything that's going on and sees that they're basically just Zerglings and Overlords. He knows that there are a bunch of Overlords that he should be able to do quite a bit of damage. And naelavok thinking that he's in a little bit of a pickle, but he's going to snipe out some Overlords around the map. And we've got a bunch of warp gates on the way. Unfortunately, still not producing off of these Stargates, but now he has enough gas and enough minerals to start producing off of it. And even though there may be spore crawlers on the map, I mean, if you've got Zealots counter spore crawlers basically directly, and there aren't spore crawlers at every base. But it does eliminate a little bit of his detection abilities. Evo Chambers going down to try and wall this in. And we do have a bunch of Zealots, and Zealot Archon is a pretty good decision based on what he's seen. Having 2 Stargates, I'd still like to see something being produced off of the Stargates, but it looks like he's basically supply blocked at the moment. So even if you're building Void Rays are pretty good in the late game, especially against any armored buildings, which every building is basically armored. And, I mean, going Zealot Archon against this kind of build, probably going to do you alright. Especially with mutas, those Archons are going to be able to do a little bit of damage. But knowing that there are Phoenix out on the map and knowing that your opponent has Stargates, going with mutas is a very dangerous idea. You just don't want to lose your mutas to Phoenix, which if you look, range of 5 with 2 attacks, range of 5, and I mean each attack does 10 damage. So that's 20 damage total to Mutalisk. And so I mean, even if you just have 6 Phoenixes will one-shot a Muta when they're focused down. And that's just not a good position to be in as a Zerg player. And he's got Storm, so he's going to be able to Storm to keep the Mutas at bay a little bit. Although Storms don't keep anything. They don't keep things in place, so you're not going to be able to do them to death too well. We got one Overlord over here, and he's going to be able to see a field of pylons. He's checking out on the Matrix right now. And it looks like a Zergling scouting out that 4th base right now. And it looks like naelavok going to try and go and take center map control. And unfortunately, he hasn't. He should see the mutas. He's got his observer right here. He sees the mutas exist. So we need to see production on more Phoenixes for our Protoss player. More Phoenixes. Immortals aren't exactly the thing that you want at the moment. We really need some more Phoenixes out of these Stargates, especially with double Stargate on the way. And now you really should know. He's selected everything, and he knows that the mutas are around. He knows that they're out on the map. He doesn't have a mothership core out to help recall home, and so now he's going to have to walk all the way home. Mutas thankfully don't DPS very hard, so attacking buildings with them doesn't do a whole lot of damage, so we're not too worried about that at the moment. But he might actually be able to take out this Nexus because none of his army is not going in, so now it looks like he's going to try and initiate a base race, kind of all in of him. But there's nothing at home to defend. He's got a couple cannons that might scare the mutas away a little bit, but unfortunately, because he doesn't have anything, there's no pylons, no forward pylons, which is something that we need, and it's really hard to do a base race if you're not attacking. Come on, naelavok, you need to start attacking. We've got mutas doing a ton of damage. We've got stalkers that are coming in to defend this base a little bit. Phoenix is getting taken out really quickly, and I mean, just camping mutas on top of any sort of Stargate takes out one pylon there. Mutas are actually pretty good against Stalkers because Stalkers don't DPS very hard. And so Stalkers not doing much damage all to these Mutas. Mutas are taking out the pylons, and now we're starting the base race. We have a bunch of High Templar with a lot of energy. So we need to start feedbacking some Queens. We need to start seeing some Storms on mineral lines just to try and kill everything off. Prevent anybody from being able to build any buildings away, which is something that we've seen in previous games today already. And so now naelavok trying to go out with some stalkers, taking out a bunch of these mutas, trying to focus them down as best as he can. And now we've started the base race for real. Now we've got zealots going in against the zerglings. We've got an immortal that's got only 20 health. He's got next to 0 shields, so it's not going to be much use. So he's trying to hold it back in the back. We could just feed back that queen and stop everything from attacking it. Feedbacking queens will do a lot of damage, because they'll be so weak after you take out all their energy. Storming some mineral lines would be really good because you'd be able to take out these drones pretty quickly. 2 storms on the mineral line, and basically the mineral line is gone. Keeping these High Templar right here in position at the back of the ramp. Very dangerous for those High Templar to be there. And storming the ramp a little bit, trying to prevent the roaches from being able to go all the way up the ramp. And right now, we need to see some storms on the roaches. Storms on the roaches go down. Colt saying he done goofed, and I am inclined to agree, but naelavok deciding, you know what, I don't need storms right now. Archons are the way to go, and there's the GG. naelavok taking a 2-0 victory against Colt.